DRX on blue. And what will change this time around? You know, last time Faker very confidently just went for the blind pick Zoe and it ended up getting player of the game, right? You can't really ban away the Zoe. We know his champion pool is incredibly deep. Cuz was able to do a lot on the Udyr, so maybe you try to at least get that for Pyosik or force a ban on it here early. Some stuff I might focus on.
It's definitely going to get banned. Like, T1's not going to give over the first. If Pyosik ends up on like Hecarim, you're fine, but you can't have Udyr. It's just not allowed, and I'm happy to see T1 ban that. I think the Fresh, self-explanatory as well. And probably going to be looking at the Renekton ban coming out here from either team. Might be DRX if they don't want to first pick it. Otherwise, it will definitely be T1. Just to make sure that that doesn't go over to Kingen, because even though I think Kana played the team fights really well, right? Yes, there were a couple of unfortunate engages, but as you so rightly pointed out, that one wall smash that he found on Bao in that team fight, around the Baron where Faker popped off, those are the type of plays you need. If you don't find those plays, that team fight might look completely different. And from that point of view, I'd imagine that T1 still wants to put him on something comfortable. Because I don't think blind picking Nara again and like giving Kingen another opportunity to hard carry the game is really the way to go. So I would much rather see that get passed over and picked up in a later point in the game. Hecarim is available, Kai'Sa's available. And I think that's kind of the direction that we're going to be looking at here with this initial one. Or the Renekton first pick, as already pointed out.
Well, what are we going to see this time around? The Hecarim is hovered and selected, so we know what Pyosik is going to be playing. At least, you know, most likely. Haven't seen the top Hecarim here in the LCK, but who knows about in the future. As now T1, do they just go ahead and scoop that Kai'Sa for Teddy? Do they mix it up? Do they hold on to that maybe? Because he does have kind of a differing champion pool from some other AD carries. Is the Nidalee is going to be the choice here?
Nidalee Renekton. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to come out here for T1. Just endless pressure on the top side. And Renekton, a solid blind pick. If you don't pick the Gnar into it, it's playable, but you can expect Cuz to camp you early on, and then if one or two of the dives do work out, you're playing from such a deficit. Kana could also go for something like a Prowler's Claw to even further worsen that matchup, especially if he gets even an iota of attention. And this is T1 saying, well, you leave it on the table, we have no choice but to pick it away. But now the Kai'Sa's available here, so that means you can go for something like a Kai'Sa Nautilus, a Kai'Sa Alistar, and then you have a really, really good backline dive coming out here from DRX.
Yeah, and a lot of tools to handle what you're seeing on the side of T1 in team fights later on. So I kind of like that path. Let's see if they do go for it here. It's down to 0 seconds. They're going to pick the Gnar, so we get that pick here. They could still go Gnar Kai'Sa if they wanted to do that, and then pick some, you know, leftover support later on.
And I think that we're going to see the jungle pickup coming off. Sorry, not the jungle pickup. The AD carry pickup here from the side of T1 following this up. And I also expect DRX to pick up the carry. It will be the Kai'Sa, as you said. I think the Kai'Sa synergizes well with the Gnar, with the Hecarim. A very coherent game plan where you want to go in deep onto the enemy backline. Does mean, though, that if T1 picks up the Xayah yet again, I think last game we saw how much... or rather how little of an impact Teddy was able to have due to the fact that Xayah's best when players run into her, right? Like that's where the pick excels, that's where you can get a lot done. This will just be like lane kingdom all over the top side of the map. This is something that I personally would not be opposed to. I do like I said, I do like this. I think last game there was a problem where both the Chase and the Victor are never going to get on top of you, right? Lilia doesn't really want to either. She just wants to pop in and out. And then you're in a situation where you're desperately like trying to be relevant, but it's really, really hard. In this scenario, you already know DRX, pretty committed to going in deep. This is not a comp that from this point on I can see pivot to a poke composition or something that doesn't want to hard engage. And in that scenario, the Xayah does make a lot more sense. Just to be sure. Ban Vector anyway. Just to be sure, we don't want that again.
Yeah, I mean, Soka looks pretty good on that one in the last one, so they ban away Comfort, something that was kind of just left available for Soka to scoop up in that last one. after, of course, the Orianna ban. Rakan going to be taken away. They don't want to deal with Xayah Rakan.
I want to see a Lucian ban. I feel like that is something that you don't want to give T1, because then they can actually do whatever they like. And I've heard the rumors of Talon. Okay.
No.
Yeah, I've heard the rumors, Val. There's an AP jungler. Like, is it good? Probably not. Do I want to see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can assure you I do. you want to see it as well. Everyone wants to see it. Don't lie. Is that what's going to come out? Absolutely not. I can see the case for something really safe, really standard, as an Orianna, which of course doesn't have great synergy with the Nidalee, but Kana is probably going to be the main benefactor of the attention that Cuz is going to pay to his side lane. So I think that as Faker, you can just say, listen, just pay all your attention to Renekton. Like, we already have a self-sufficient bot lane. We'll pick a self-sufficient mid laner as well. Possibility's still there, Valdez. It's an R5 talent angle, I'm just saying.
I don't know. I like the Lucian better. If you're going to go down that line, you know.
I think Lucian is better. But, you know, never let what is quote-unquote better stand in the way of a good time.
Don't let your memes be dreams.
Exactly.
Don't let your dreams
I'm
be
glad.
dreams.
I'm glad you know what I'm talking about.
So over here on the side of DRX, the Syndra comes through. The Bard would be interesting. Don't know if we're going to see that one here. They've been hovering a lot of Pyke.
Oh, Kha'Zix support. Yeah, that's the...
Oh.
All the rate. Oh, yes. What? They didn't go for it? No, this is a combo that I think we called at the beginning of the draft, right? The Alistair. It's that or the Nautilus. Super strong.
Master
Very first stop pick.
Zed?
No.
Zed or Bed?
No, he wouldn't. No, we can't get excited about this. We're not allowed to. Until it's locked in, we don't talk about hovers.
Are
no, he's just playing with us. No, it's going to be the weekend. No, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Okay.
They let us wait till the last second.
Yeah.
And they don't give it to us. This, of course, does make a lot of sense. The 2v2 is kind of awkward, where you will be able, as Soka, to build just a lot of magic resist, and then the consistent poke that comes out from the T1 bot lane. It's not as great. I feel like T1's comp is not super coherent. You're kind of looking on one side to go in and dive aggressively, or try to get into the enemy backline with the Leon and the Renekton. But then, you know, Nidalee, the Zoe, they just want to poke. Teddy wants to kite back, so... Not a huge fan of the T1 draft here. I feel like something like the Lucian would have actually been preferable to me. I feel like you are then able to put out a lot more pressure than you will be able to with the Zoe. The fact that Faker can teamfight with this pick is very self-explanatory after what we just saw, but I feel like the T1, like, what's the best way to put this? The margin between playing well and just getting run over by hard engage from Hecarim, Renekton, Gnar, like I don't know if that's gonna end up well. I really like what DRX have drafted here, and it's a lot more coherent than what T1 has shown. But then again, T1's mechanical execution in the last game was exquisite.
Yeah, I do feel like the drafts in the last game were a little bit more coherent, as you put it, right? I think both sides kind of had that down. This time around, you know, you give DRX a bit of a draft win, and maybe they just run with that and take over. And maybe that gives us our third game. You know, the draft isn't everything, but certainly feels pretty good about what they were able to pick up this time around. But let's see what happens here in game number 2. As we will hop onto the Rift once again. DRX on the blue side, T1 on the red. So the colors matching this time around. And, you know, maybe Cuz puts on an early game clinic again. Doesn't allow Kingen to play. You know, maybe they really get into the face of DRX and shut down that top lane. And that's one way to try to push the issue early.
That's what you need to do, I think, as T1. I think that you can, if you really want, right, if everything else fails, there's always the Teddy win condition, where it's just Teddy in a team fight. But that's not really where you want to be, because I do think that Faker actually has a lot less space than compared to the last game, because last game, very nice, game 1, 100% win or hit rate on spears.
GG?
Yeah, that's where you just...
Is that
I'd say so, yeah.
Zero?
That's yeah, true enough. Where last game he had 3 frontliners, right, and like big frontliners as well. You had the Gnar, especially in Mega, is basically unkillable. unless you focus a lot of attention with Udyr, and then we had Nautilus. This game, Renekton, definitely more of an off-tank, right? Up until like 2-3 items, he can decently tank, but then later in the game, not nearly as much the case, and a very squishy mid lane, meaning that there will be less space for Faker to do what he did last game. So then you end up with, can Teddy find those late game carry potential if you don't win the early game? And that's, you need to, right? This is Renekton Nidalee. This is what it does. It's something that it's been criticized for. I personally believe that if you pick it and it works well, you just straight up stomp the enemy team, which has a lot of value in of itself, especially in the best of 3 scenario. So I'm more than happy to be convinced, but it is something where T1, they need to get it done.
That they do, which, again, worries me a little bit because DRX are a really strong team. And they were one play away from winning that game. DRX could have easily won that first game. It had a couple of things gone their way, just a little bit extra, but not the way it eventually played it out. So T1 will have their hands full in this game, and we'll see if it does work out. I feel like so far, things, of course, being a little bit quiet. It looks like Cuz is going to go for that first full clear. No shenanigans, nothing too early on. Faker taking some nice trades in the mid lane, having some fun with the Syndra, as you try to do.
That's some APM right there. You see that movement? Oh, baby.
Well, 8-3 on the Renekton. It's definitely a nice win rate. Kana is not necessarily somebody like a Rascal or somebody who's like, oh, you can't give this guy Renekton, but he's definitely good at the pick, as we can see.
And it's something that has been, I think, literally the highest ban rate within the LCK over the course of the whole split.
Is it happening?
Oh,
it's happening.
Oh boy.
No surprise here, guys. As the flashes all coming in, 2 from the side of T1. They're really trying to force this and not even going to land that second spear. But they're going to be able to get this proxy going here for Kana and make life difficult for King to start off.
And that's unfortunate, but I'm pretty sure that if King can't teleport back, he does, never mind. I'm like, I could see them go for it and just immediately punish him as Kaz?
Ghost is going to come in here. He's trying to get him off the wall, and with no flash available, it's a little bit awkward for Cuz, but a flash over the wall now from Solka, who, oh man, he's going to get kited out here. No flash on the Syndra. The flash comes in now from Faker. The sleep coming in. The damage will be there. First blood to the Zoe, as Kana now is going to move forward and look to bite off a little bit more, but they're just going to have to be satisfied with the 1 kill.
And it is in the end, the double scuttle going over to DRX, but a kill going to the Zoe from Faker. And with last game's performance in mind, that's not the start you are looking for here as DRX, as now the teleport advantage is pretty much gone. And yet, post-6, you can definitely do that as Syndra. Pre-6, not so much.
Yeah, Solka got excited.
Yeah.
Got a KT fan on her hands. But that's okay. Maybe that's something that you can learn from early on in the game, so perhaps you play a little bit safer as this game does come along. But we'll have to wait and see. Really trying to bite off a little bit more than he could chew in that moment. We'll see if we have a return gank up to the top side, because while it was a 1 flash for 2, if you get the flash away from the Gnar, you do set up potential kills in the future. As we're going to take another look here at this fight.
And it's the early presence of Syndra, one of the reasons why she is so popular, that has Faker very low. Cos with a really nice sidestep here on this scatter, is then able to jump over the wall. This is still fine. I think as Solka, you're never allowed to go over it because you have a Hecarim who just has Ghost, who can't actually follow you.
And no scatter!
Yeah, you just use your scatter, right? And like, even then, there's a Renekton there, so you definitely die. And this is beautiful for Gun as well. Like, go in with the slice and dice, use your Empower Q to heal up, and then go.
이 정도만 해도 이거 미드 캐리 나와. 천천히 봐.
He said, you know, if we can get this going early, I can carry in the future, basically.
Well, after last game, I can't fault him for that assessment. And
he said take it slow.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know,
Take it easy.
All right, kids, let's, you know, let's calm down here.
I'll have you know, this is the veteran lineup, okay?
True.
These guys are like, instead of 17, they're like 20.
But still, compared to Faker, everything.
Well, yeah.
As we do have a trade down on the bottom side, Becca looks like he's just dead. Not sure how that one started, but still it's a 2v2 kill, this time in favor of T1's bottom lane. So, again, as I mentioned, no flash for Kingen, no escape. And that's just what that's going to mean. And Faker finds Pioshik. I don't know if he can get any help from his team, but he's at least being annoying here. And gets a nice little angle. Is going to teleport to mid. So, is forced to blow that summoner at least.
I mean, he is Unsealed Spellbook. I don't know about that one. And as a whole, beautiful play there from T1. You make use of, as you so rightly pointed out, the blown flash on the Gnar, right? If he's in mini Gnar and he doesn't have a flash and you're in Acton, that is just basically a dead Yordle on your screen. And yeah, this is just straight up. I don't know why Becca is there if Bao has no mana and is looking to back. Just a miscommunication, presumably. And with no, look, the timeout comes in. Actually, I would have loved if Kingen moved into the Dominus range here, because that would have, like, procced the turret shot, and then maybe Kana would have, you know, taken an extra one or two, and then that would have been it. But he would have died regardless. Kingen, there's no way that he ever lives there. This is the power of Renex in Italy. It's not enough to win you the game, but it's definitely enough to get you fed early on.
Get you a step in the right direction, that's for sure. Keria, he knows where his bread is buttered. He's going to be helping out Faker here. As now we're looking to turn the tides potentially onto Kana, who does not have his Dominus. That's going to be the Gnar into the wall. We got the Horsey on top of him, and there's no escape for him now. So at least DRX is able to trade a kill back in very similar fashion.
The life of a top laner.
Yeah.
Big wave stacked, you know what's coming, but without Dominance or Flash available, there's no way to Kana outplace that. I think it was looking for an empowerment to kill the Meek there at the end to maybe sustain up for a little bit longer.
Ooh, gonna miss on that one, but he lands the bubble. No flash available for Solka, and with the Everfrost, you might just go down. And yes, he does. As now the ultimate comes out here from the Hecarim, the flash a little bit optimistic there. He had Keria coming in, so probably on the comms. Heard the shouting and thought maybe there was a chance, but it's just a trade of kills and a denial on the Rift Herald for DRX.
It's not amazing. I feel like T1, while still getting the early game pressure that we want from them, is not really hitting the tempo yet that we'd very much like to see. You know, Teddy just casually playing 1v2, has the Featherstorm available, so he's actually allowed to do that here, especially with Keria now in the vicinity. And I would love to see T1 go for some aggressive Drake play. This is one of those situations where it's not optional. You need to get those Drakes, right? Like, yes, you want to play around your top side. Yes, you want to try and feed Kana as we get a lane swap here. I don't think that Solka is going to be very happy against a Renekton.
Yeah, and T1's like, yeah, okay, I guess we'll just take the Rift Herald.
Yeah.
Because you're not having priority in the top side anymore. I mean, you weren't going to anyway. But you just feel so confident when you see that. You're like, okay, we can just take this down for free. And that they will. At about 10 minutes, that will be taken here. So this could potentially get that tempo you were talking about going. You get a couple of those kills, and Cuz picks up the Rift Herald, and they'll be looking for the Ocean Drake.
Teddy's just sitting in the brush like, come on, Bao, you want that wave. No, you do. Doesn't actually come forward though. Bao is disciplined. Will have his back cancelled there, I assume, by Teddy. Maybe just his presence enough to make him back off. And that should be the Drake coming in here. Without any hitch. We see the prio in bot side, we see a lot of pressure in mid lane from Faker, who's just stacked a big wave, which of course Solka can clear, but they won't really have the time to respond. Kana just needs to play weak side, is playing very respectfully, which we love to see. And that means that this early game snowball that T1 so desperately needs has actually, or is actually, it's being built up, right? It's coming, it's rolling. It looks like Kana's going to go for Strike Breaker. I think it makes sense. I like Prowler's Claw personally, but the Strike Breaker provides a little bit more beefiness if you do want to look for team fights.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're watching this again. This is, I mean, yeah, he tries to clear the wave. He can't because King knows that that's what he wants to do. And they're too tanky. This is really nice because that's an MVP world right there, right? Because otherwise, a different team might go in with Faker and Kazde, get flanked, and then Sorka blows you up. Now, of course, this is still not the cleanest play. They underestimate the rotational speed, which against the Hecarim is not really something you can afford to do. But it's still something that, in a deficit, works out decently well as Kingen.
Uh-oh. Well, he does have Flash this time, and he is Mega Gnar for the beginning of that, at least. So he's even going to hold on to his ultimate there, so pretty fine as Keria just taking a beating here from the cow. Actually trying to turn this around. He's going in. Look at him. He's going 1v2, and he sets up the kill now for Faker. And that is the presence you need to be a superstar support player.
Oh, he shows him the sunglasses. He shows him the dab. Keria there. That's a play where once it starts, you're like, wait, what's happening? And then he finds the kill, really nicely combined together with Faker. And this is a draft that can have early lane kingdom. We mentioned it earlier. It's definitely happening right now. T1 able to find a 3k gold lead early on. Picked up the first Drake. Still has a Herald in the pocket that they can drop somewhere. And every single lane is winning, Valdez.
Yeah. And, you know, as you mentioned, this is what we needed to see, right? When we saw it on paper, we're like, there are some holes in this draft that could be taken advantage of, especially if they don't get the tempo in the early game. But they did everything right, and DRX was not able to respond in any way, really.
It's a classic case of they could lose, but not if they win, which is what T1 is showing us here. And yeah, this is looking like a done and dusted deal on Keria. Doesn't even hit the solar flare, but has the confidence that Faker is going to back him up, and that flash just adds insult to injury, Cuz also in the general vicinity to help out his teammates. And this is just looking like a dominant set of early game rotations and plays here from T1. If they also pick up a Drake, could still be a Cloud, but if you get a Mountain, you're feeling very good.
Oh, not again. Well, he's just... even Cuz is getting in on this one. Faker's like, yeah, you can have it this time. I'm fine with that. And he still has the Rift Herald, guys.
Listen,
so
I think this is where the trumpets start playing, and like, oh, this is not the game you're looking for. As DRX, it was a very hard-fought game number 1. Yeah. And honestly, this is why we don't see Renekton in Italy go through drafts, right? You need to ban one of the two. Generally, you just ban the Renekton and you're done with it. Otherwise, yeah, this can happen.
Even with Kana getting bodied by Mega Gnar, it doesn't matter. They already got the job done. And you can see Keria's not scared of any cow here. We're almost nearing the point where we just stop talking about the game and we start talking about narrative. Like, oh my god, what does this mean for playoffs? Like, T1 are looking so good. We're getting there. We're getting close, Chronicler.
I don't know who you're trying to fool. We all know that when the LCK is not about the game anymore, we talk about... Oh, wait, it's you. We can't talk about pop culture. Oh, that's...
What do you mean?
That's a painful one.
Don't you remember that reference I made in
Actually, you're
first
right.
Series?
You know, you've actually been improving. I really appreciate that.
Leroy
you know?
Jenkins. Cuz is actually just looking to solo king in. Gets the flash available. That's a nice little exhaust that Faker was able to pick up. Ignite comes in, and more sparkles. Is just barely able to get him. That was actually looking like a little bit of enough health, but I guess just barely enough. On the Ignite damage comes out, and he gets the kill.
Yeah, so about this pop culture reference, because unfortunately, like, you can't fault Kingen for this. You can possibly criticize the Gnar pick, but I don't think there's a lot of picks that do better here. Like, even a Sion, which is traditionally one of the strongest weak side laners, like, we've seen Sions get bodied in this exact matchup. It is just the power, and you need to go for these Hail Mary kind of plays. I like it. That's the only thing that's really available here to you as DRX, because I think in a late game scenario, you might be fine if you find a dive. But with how absurdly big this gold deficit is, this is 6k, and T1 still have 100% win rate with a gold lead at 15 minutes.
15 minutes into the game and 6,000
6k.
gold. Over 6,000 gold even. And Keria, you know, everybody on the side of T1 is smurfing, right? Keria has been so present. This is like one of those solo queue games where the enemy support is always in the mid lane, and your support is never there. Of course, he's able to do that because of the way the bottom lane went as well. So you talked about all the lanes winning. You know, Keria's making the most of it. He's extending beyond just the bottom lane. He's able to leave Teddy there alone and extend into a great spot. I thought maybe I was going to curse him there, but I did not. The level 10 Horsey is scared of level 8 Leona, of course, with a lot of
Yeah,
back.
I was about to say, I don't think it's Leona specifically
Yeah.
he's scared for. But this is a win lane, win game composition from T1, right? And they won lane. And what follows then logically is win game. And there are situations where people pick this kind of draft and then they don't find the leads that they need. And we go into the mid game with like maybe 2 3k gold lead and 1 or 2 drakes. And that's salvageable.
0G.
Yeah. This is starting to... This is the worst part. You can see 4 plates by T1. Cuz has only been topside. Cuz
In the bottom lane. Yeah.
No, sorry, yeah. It's 4 plates in the bottom lane where Cuz has not been.
Yeah.
It's just Teddy and Carrier who I think this is their way of saying sorry for last game, guys. We can do better. And
Yeah.
they did.
I mean, it's crazy, too, how they had, like, a rough time in game number 1, and they were still such a big factor. You know, like, everybody was looking at the flashy plays of, you know, Kana, Cuz, Faker, but, you know, Carrie had some big moments. Teddy was doing consistent damage, so everything's really coming together for T1, you know? It's definitely a much better look now towards the end of round 2. And I don't know, I think the world would just explode if they moved off of this roster now. I think once you do this well against 2 top teams in a row, why ever change, right? There's no reason to anymore. There's no experimentation excuse,
Honestly,
right? There's no reason.
listen,
You just
this-
keep them together.
This might be a controversial take, but if they just play this roster, right, for the rest of the players and they do this really well, then the experiment was actually arguably a success. You've gotten a ton
for
ton of
sure.
intel, right? Like you know now the weaknesses of your newer players, your rookies. And this roster apparently cannot play for an entire split and still stomp people. So, you know, who's the fools now, Valdez? Because I think, understandably and justifiably so, there was a lot of criticism levied towards T1.
Yeah.
But then seeing how this roster is performing thus far, it makes you forget. Like, we forget easily. We have short memories, right? We like the teams. We want them to do well. And if you see this, you're like, well, you know, that is what they're doing. They're doing really well. Everyone is a bounty. Even Teddy, who just got that of plate goal and CS. And that is literally just it. Yeah. I don't really know what to say more about this one. It's an Italy Renekton composition with a Leona, and they've won in every lane, meaning that they can hard engage, they can shut down individual targets, they have really strong side laning, and barring huge colossal mistakes, like Teddy probably is never gonna die in this game, because if you dive Teddy, then he feather storms, right? And then there's
Gale
still
forces away.
yeah, and then the worst part is you still have a fed Renekton and Zoe and Italy. Like these are all problems that
And
you need to
Leona.
solve. Well, yeah, I
Fed
mean, even
Leona,
Leona.
too. Don't
I
forget
mean,
about her.
Oh god,
Oh, that was a nice dodge by Solka.
I like it.
If you're DRX and you're trying to win from here, 0 mistakes. you can't get caught. Nobody can die. And then you need to pull off something crazy in a team fight. Right?
And we haven't talked about this because, you know, we're so used to being disappointed, but it's actually a relevant soul, which is great. We don't have that a lot here in the LCK. If you, you know, maybe you don't watch all the games. We have a statistical anomaly with the amount of Cloud Souls.
Yeah.
It gets found.
I don't think Kana really cares. I think he can 1v2 them. Like,
He doesn't care.
even with the Ignite, you could see that DRX are just like, you know what? Like, we don't know 100% where everybody is. We have
Doesn't
to
even
respect
dominate.
this. Yeah, he's fine. He didn't even flash. He just stride breakers away. And you can see he's even sniffing around here. He's like, is anyone left? Yeah. Not actually going to be able to hit Yoshi fair. We got a big push that's happening in the top lane, getting a nice amount of damage here. Still pretty early on in the game, guys, so you're at 20 minutes. And Kana is just playing it really smart. He knows that the game has kind of shifted away from, okay, we're diving the Gnar. He's now on the weak side, and he will not die.
The weak side Crocodile coming in hot. And why not, right? Like, your team is getting 3 turrets on top side. They're getting a lot of pushes on the inhibitor turret. And all you need to do is not die, because in 40 seconds, the Drake is spawning. That Drake brings even more resistances. And We say jokingly about the T1 composition that of course it doesn't scale super well. If you win lane this hard, like the scaling doesn't become nearly as much of a problem. And then if you get a mountain saw as well, it actually is a really big problem, because if you look at the DRX damage, it's mostly burst based, right? Like the Syndra and the Gnar, they rely on these big flashy plays, like throw all your abilities in and that's pretty much it. Bao to a lesser extent, if he can proc his passive multiple times, can do a little bit more, and Pyosik with the Q spam can get some damage done, but oh boy.
Oh, he's gonna find him there, and we have the stun lock coming in. See you later. Spear from miles away for huge amounts of damage. Now Becca's gonna have to ult here, and it's just chaos on the Rift. Nobody can get away from T1. Becca not even able to get through the wall, and that's 2 free kills right before the Mountain Drake. And Keria is just laughing at you. I mean, this is impossible for King and Bound to do anything, even to the support. Not able to kill him in time before the team does come in.
And you said DRX needs to make no mistakes. Obviously, as DRX, you can't really contest. But you also see, like, even if you don't contest that, like, the deficit between, or the discrepancy between these two teams is so absurdly huge that King just used a full-on ultimate on a Leona that I don't think had Aftershock procced. And he did nothing. Like, it was like, what, 30% of a health? It's just, I don't know. Look at this bot side vision as well. Dragon gets taken. And, you know, we said the win condition in the draft. T1, you need to snowball. They snowballed, and now it's basically the easiest game ever to play out. Just group up, throw your poke, and you have such an insane amount of gold over your opponents. You need to make sure that you don't get caught in the side lane, but this is something that I'm really happy to see, is that T1 actually, they're playing respectful. Kana earlier, right, it was rightly so pointed out, even though he's literally standing like pretty close in his own territory, he's just like, no, not going to give them an opening, not going to give them an out. And that's a position where T1 can just do whatever you want on the map besides that.
Yeah. It's an awesome feel if you're T1 right now. They're scouring around the Baron here, trying to deny as much vision as possible. DRX, they're going back to some old school strategies. Nobody's in the brush. Nice job, Jonah Strong. No, not that one either. Oh, they're on your blue buff, of course. That's where they are.
And this, I love this. Like, this is yet again an example of like how smurf our observers are, because it's so easy to forget like how much the players don't see. Is he gonna face check? Is it gonna work? The bamboozle?
Do you think they have any idea? Oh, Faker checks it! And now, actually, Keria might die here. He's got the Aftershock going, though. Will he survive through 3 people shelling onto him? Looks like the answer will be no, but it doesn't matter. He survives for long enough, and everybody else on the side of DRX will die. Teddy 1v1ing the Gnar here. The ultimate does come in, though, but the burst is not there. Faker's able to come in and help him out. And now it's almost a 10,000 gold lead at 24 minutes as T1 will casually take the Baron.
You gotta love DRX for that play. They realized this game is all but lost. We're gonna go for the Hail Mary. Hope someone makes mistakes. Run them over and go from that. Unfortunately, this T1 clearly not in the mood for fun and games. Faker sniffing that one out. And as you said, yeah, collapsing on this Leona. I don't know about that one, Chief, as they throw everything into him. It doesn't actually do anything. Cuz is there, Faker is there, the teleports are immediately channeled, and as soon as it's not like a 5v2, as DRX, you know, like, this is over, right? We're so far behind, there's just no way that we're gonna make this work, as I'm pretty sure Bao just blows up.
Oh, so this is why they didn't have a Kaisa. I see. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
He does cleanse, but he doesn't flash. I mean, there wasn't really enough time to react to that. Oh, Observer's at it again. Where is everybody? They're all here in the brush again and trying to fight from 10,000 gold down, but it seems like there are enough members of T1 here to get the damage done. The Zenith lane is going to miss, but it just doesn't matter. They're smurfing him. We got the triple kill for the Xayah. Can we set up the Penta?
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 Penta? No.
No, this isn't Ruler. No. They're all going to run away. DRX, not happy with the way this game is going to go. No free Pentas here. But it is the triple for the Xayah, and that's good enough.
They just keep doing this. I can't believe it.
Oh, trying to burst down Faker. He's got the W flash, and he is going to go down. So they do kill him. And the unofficial Penta comes in, the triple-double. Over to Teddy on the Xayah. So there you go. We have a interesting end to the game. T1 with the Baron on 26 minutes. They're actually looking to push to end this one. We'll see if they can actually pull it off here, as their wallets are so incredibly large right now. Stacking up the cash. In goes Kana, finds Solka. See you later. Puts him in the ground. And that's going to do it, guys. 26 minutes is...
Let him live. Come on.
How long it takes. We have the feathers coming out. We have the spears and all that fun jazz as they're going in for this one. And they do pick up the kill. And as it is fun and games here, Teddy is still looking for kills under the fountain here. As there you go. He's even going to survive. As 26.5 minutes.